And that is sort of what the message of the protesters is. Yes, individual agitators place to place. But oh, you hear that? There was something that just went off. Some sort of explosion over here. Now people are running. This is on H Street. This is what's been happening. Every 10 to 15 minutes, something will go off. A firework here, an explosion over there. Marcella, talking about roads that have been closed down for a while. We're right along Goldsboro Road. This is a drainage creek right here that at some point turned into a rapids. You can see the actual grass right there bent over. This particular tree, which fell over, was then jammed into the bridge right here. I found two attorneys. Coincidentally, they had the same first name and the same initials, but that's where their similarities sort of end. During 1998, one defended the president, the other worked on the prosecution of President Bill Clinton. I borrowed these rose-colored glasses because today's a beautiful day, isn't it? It's a great day to celebrate, am I right? There's one fan over here that's got a lot to bark about over here. Bring me Sam. So who is this? Things are relatively calm. In fact, I wouldn't even use the term relative. I can say this is pretty calm right now. And here's what we know. This is an area that some of the protesters have deemed the Black House Autonomous Zone, similar to what you're seeing in Seattle, that autonomous zone around a precinct there. Some of the morning's other top stories. We know the kids love TikTok, but President Trump could sign an executive order today banning it in the U.S. There is a gate. You can't really see it from where we are. A fire just went off right here behind us. There's right over here. You just heard a fire go off in this trash can over here. You can see it's on fire. Someone lit it off. I just found this piece of glass right here. You can see we're at least a road away or almost a block away from the building itself. That's how powerful this explosion was. Makia, my family is actually from Palermo, Sicily, which is actually what the name of that town is. Yeah, so it's not a stretch, I would say, to think that someone with that lack of common sense is probably related to me.
Matt.
This week, we're digging into what's next for D.C. Councilman Jack Evans. He's the Ward 2 representative, which means he represents Georgetown. He's also been the subject of two separate ethics investigations, one by WMATA and another one by the D.C. Council. And in both reports, those investigators found multiple ethics violations. The latest one for the D.C. Council shows 11 instances, like when Evans allegedly used his office to benefit some of his private clients and didn't disclose his relationship with them. And not to mention, he reportedly made $400,000 off of those clients in that time. So what could happen next? Well, the easiest route to have Evans removed from office is that he could just resign. But judging from his 40-page response to the ethics report in which he denied any wrongdoing, that doesn't seem likely. Reportedly, a majority of the council already wants him gone, but in order to remove him, they need a supermajority. That's 11 of the 13 council members would have to vote for his removal. And I can tell you one of them's already not going to vote for that, Jack Evans. The best they can do is censure him or reprimand him, basically a formal slap on the wrist with the ability to remove him from council committees. So it comes down to the people. They would have to recall him. So we came down to Georgetown to walk around and find out what do the people here think about this whole thing.
Well, he should resign, shouldn't he? I mean, it's a simple matter.
I'm sorry, about whom?
Councilman Jack Evans?
None.
None?
No thoughts.
None?
Sorry, it's too early in the morning for me. I'm walking to work. My head's not thinking about Jack Evans, so.
In order to trigger a recall election, 10% of the voters in Jack Evans' district would have to sign a petition. So we'll see. But there is one way. If voters do in fact want Evans out of office, they can do it for sure. And that's in an election in 2020, starting with his primary run in June. Reese, at the heart of the coronavirus outbreak in New York City, there's a doctor who has a friend here in D.C., but they haven't seen each other for decades, not since they both escaped their war-torn home country. And now as he's fighting to save lives in New York City, she's trying to save him and his staff. You've seen the heart-wrenching images coming out of New York City, the epicenter of the coronavirus outbreak on our shores. But when Pranvera Bosniaku saw them, something else caught her eye. A friend.
I saw him on TV being tested.
That friend is Dr. Suleiman Salaj, head of cardiology for St. Barnabas Hospital in the Bronx. And facing a deadly crisis, he describes the outbreak as a war zone against an invisible enemy.
And we have no ammo and no weapons to fight it.
These two are lifelong friends.
Then we were in kindergarten together.
But they haven't seen each other in decades. They were separated by the Bosnian wars and genocide of the 90s that ravaged their native Kosovo.
And then when the war started and I moved to America, he moved to Romania, and we have lost touch.
But eventually he made his way to New York and now finds himself at the center of a new crisis. After their reunion, Pranvera knew she had to help.
having worked in a crisis situation in my home country, I've learned how to mobilize very quickly and act.
She reached out to him, and he said anything would help. Pranvera decided on masks. She went to work and dusted off her old sewing machine.
I got this beauty.
She hadn't sewn in years, but after getting the right fabric and design, she worked round the clock, sometimes without sleep.
I just couldn't wait. It was very, very urgent.
And in that week, she finished an order fit for a staff
And this is what I made.
and sent them to her childhood friend.
They're actually very good quality.
For healthcare workers who would have had no protection, now they have Pranvera's masks. Now, the masks aren't meant to protect in a way that an N95 mask would, but Dr. Salaj found they help to get longer use out of those scarce N95 masks.
Put them on top of our N95 mask, and they're doing it trick.
And back in D.C., Pranvera isn't done. She continues to send masks to hospitals across the country and here at home, but with some added help.
My goal is to have more people. I want to build a seamstress army.
Maybe that's just what it'll take, an army of hope to defeat an invisible enemy.